diving right in today with a 1987 Marvel comic, Captain America Meets the Asthma Monster.
Now, that's a surprising choice, you might think, but it's actually a really fascinating way to look at how asthma was understood and perceived back then.
Seriously.
Yeah.
A giant green asthma monster. I'm hooked already. But before we get to Captain America saving the day, let's get a handle on the basics. Lay down some solid medical understanding with a little help from the Mayo Clinic.
Always a good move. It really helps to understand the science behind asthma. Makes the comic's portrayal and how the public saw it back then even more interesting.
So what exactly is asthma? The Mayo Clinic says it's a chronic condition. Basically, your airways, the tubes that carry air in and out of your lungs, they get all irritated and inflamed.
It's not just a little tightness in the chest. We're talking a chronic inflammatory response. And when an attack hits, these inflamed airways, they get even tighter, swell up, and some people even produce extra mucus, making it really hard to breathe.
Sounds awful. And the Mayo Clinic article mentions a whole bunch of things that can trigger these attacks. Pollen, dust, cold air, even stress. Seems like everyone's different.
They really are. What might set off one person's asthma might have zero effect on someone else. Makes diagnosis and management tricky.
Okay, so we've got those medical basics down. Let's get back to Captain America and that asthma monster. What is the deal with this villain? And how does the superhero even fight something like asthma?
Well, the asthma monster itself is this big, monstrous figure. Green, scaly. But it gets at this very real fear that I think a lot of kids with asthma experience. That feeling of being different, of having this thing inside them that they can't control.
So it's like the monster is this physical form of that feeling of helplessness and fear. That's actually kind of brilliant.
Right. And it really highlights the psychological impact this condition can have, especially on kids.
Totally.
Now imagine you're a kid struggling with asthma, and your idol, Captain America, shows up to help you fight this monster.
Talk about a confidence boost, right? But wait, it gets even better. Captain America doesn't just beat the asthma monster. He reveals something really surprising about himself.
He does. In this really powerful moment, Captain America reveals that he had asthma as a child. Like, whoa.
No way.
It totally changes things. It challenges this whole idea that asthma makes you weak. It's like the comic is saying, hey, even Captain America dealt with this, and look at him now.
That's such a powerful message for young readers especially. It tells them asthma is normal, that it doesn't have to hold you back.
And the comic doesn't stop there. It goes on to really emphasize understanding your triggers, managing your symptoms, and actually taking your medication like you're supposed to.
So even while he's battling this giant green monster, Captain America is promoting asthma awareness and self-management. That's amazing.
It really is. But it also shows how far we've come since 1987,
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to understanding and treating asthma. Back then, it was all about opening up the airways during an attack. Today, we have a much better understanding of the disease.
Which brings us to the present day and how asthma treatment has evolved. So what's different since Captain America's showdown with the asthma monster back in '87? What breakthroughs have there been in the fight against asthma?
Well, for one thing, we now understand that asthma isn't just about constricted airways. We've learned that it's a chronic inflammatory disease, and that's completely changed how we approach treatment.
So instead of just prying those airways open during an attack, we're going after the root of the problem, the inflammation itself.
Exactly, yeah. It's a whole new ballgame. And that's led to some incredible treatment options, like combination inhalers, for example.
Combination inhalers. Those sound kind of intense. What makes them different from the ones Captain America would know?
They're like the ultimate power couple of asthma management. They combine two medications in one, a long-acting bronchodilator to keep those airways open, and an inhaled corticosteroid to tackle the inflammation head-on.
Much more effective than those old inhalers.
Oh, absolutely. Way more effective. The old ones were mainly focused on just like quick relief during an attack.
Right. So it's like a two-pronged approach. Now, prevention and treatment all rolled into one.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Okay, but what about the people who need even more help? When those combination inhalers aren't quite enough, has there been any progress in treating those more severe cases of asthma?
Definitely. You remember how we talked about understanding asthma as an inflammatory disease? Well, that discovery led to some really cutting-edge treatments called biologics.
Biologics? That sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? Sounds futuristic, but it's real-deal science. Biologics are like the special ops of asthma treatment. They're these highly specialized antibodies, and they're designed to target very specific pathways in the immune system, the ones that are causing all that inflammation in the first place.
So instead of just managing symptoms, Biologics go after the underlying cause.
Exactly.
Wow, that's incredible. We really have come a long way from battling a giant green monster in a comic book.
We have. But even with all these advancements, it's important to remember that for millions of people, managing asthma is still a day-to-day, ongoing thing.
It's not just a matter of taking a pill and it's gone.
Exactly. And while these new treatments give us a lot of hope, there's still so much we don't know about this complex condition.
It's a good reminder that we need to keep pushing for more research, right?
Yeah.
And make sure people are getting those individualized treatment plans that really work for them.
Absolutely. And that support is so important,
Yeah.
helping people with asthma live full and active lives just like anyone else.
It makes me think about that comic again.
Yeah,
As wild as it seems, it really shines a light on how important understanding and empathy are.
totally.
Back then, asthma wasn't talked about as openly. It was misunderstood, even stigmatized sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely had a stigma.
And seeing someone like Captain America, this symbol of strength, open up about his own experience with asthma, that sends a really powerful message.
It does.
Like, hey, this doesn't define you.
It challenges those perceptions, shows people it's okay.
Exactly. And that message is just as important now as it was back then. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought. How can we as a society keep challenging those misconceptions about asthma? How do we create more understanding, more support for people living with invisible illnesses, not just asthma, but all of them? Because it makes a difference. It really does. That's something for all of us to think about. And for those of you listening who are on that journey with asthma, keep learning, keep advocating for yourself, and never forget you are not alone. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.